Humberto Hernandez, American Profit Consulting. Wanted to jump on here after a couple of weeks of not making videos, just being extremely busy with work and with just kind of navigating for business owners the waters of this new SBA program and programs that are coming out. And so wanted to jump on here, help you understand the difference between both the economic injury disaster loan and the now it's either, you'll hear it called either PPP, which stands for Payroll Protection Plan, or they're calling it the CARE Act. So wanted to help you guys understand what's going on there. And just to give you a little bit of context and timeline, I'll start here. So 2 weeks ago when I started making these videos, I think I made the first video on the 16th of March. It was the day after everything kind of really started shifting. So on the 15th, which was only just a little over 2 weeks ago, I was out golfing with buddies, and it feels like we've been kind of indoors for the last 3 years. But on the 15th, which was about a little over 2 weeks ago, I was actually still out golfing, and my phone began to blow up. And the reason it began to blow up was because the Fed had just dropped rates to 0. And so I got a lot of phone calls, people asking, hey, is this gonna drop my rate to 0? Do I get a 0% loan now? I even saw realtors online kind of posting saying, you know, money's at 0%, it's the best time to buy. And I thought, nope, that's not how that works. So people were asking, well, what's gonna happen? And although nobody has a crystal ball, you would think that because now banks are borrowing money at 0% from the Fed, that our effective rate as consumers, our rates going forward would come down a little bit. And so for those of you that don't know, banks can lend out their own money up to 10 times their deposit base. After their 10-time deposit-based multiplier, they then have to go to the Fed to borrow money from the Fed to lend money out to you and I or businesses as a consumer end user. And so I thought, well, you know, if the rate went down by 1.25, it should effectively drop the rate that we're offered as consumers and business owners. And sure enough, the next day, Wall Street Journal Prime drops to 3.25, whereas last month it was 4.75. So you can understand how fast that dropped. You know, that's 30% in less than a month. And so obviously when things start happening quickly, it causes panic and people have questions and they want to understand what's going on. And so I was one of them. That night I couldn't sleep real well. I woke up really early on the day of the 16th, and I just started making phone calls to people and lenders and people in the industry, lenders, bankers all across the United States. And I just started asking, hey, what are you guys gonna do? How are you reacting to this? And of course, everybody has a different reaction, but it can be collectively summed up into one of 3 reactions. And that is, some lenders said, okay, well, we're gonna double down because we're borrowing money for free, essentially. And then there were some lenders who said business as usual. And then there are some who said we're completely exiting the marketplace. We're not lending at all until May 1st. So I thought that was really interesting. And then later on that day, on the 16th, I believe it was, where Trump and his administration came out with, you know, the stimulus package. And the stimulus package included at that point $50 billion to the SBA so that they can write disaster relief loans. So to back up a little bit, this disaster relief money, the economic injury disaster loan, it's been around for a long time. It's just very specific to counties and very local disasters. So for example, a couple of years ago when California was on fire during the California wildfires, the county of Los Angeles was evacuating. And so it affected a lot of businesses. Well, when the governor declares that county or your county as a disaster area, everybody in that county gets to participate. Well, this is the first time that the entire nation gets to participate in this program. And I did some research, and the year where the most disaster relief money was ever used was during the year of Hurricane Katrina, and it was $20 billion during the whole year. And Trump comes out and he goes, we're gonna pump $50 billion into the SBA in the next months. So that was kind of unprecedented. And I started doing some research on this money. I actually got a 62-page document from the SBA, you know, kind of with all of the information on that application and on that loan. And I started thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this money's, we've never seen anything like this, you know? To summarize it, it's 3.75% interest. There are no payments for 6 to 12 months. Some of this could become a grant. There are no payments for 6 to 12 months, nor there are interest payments for 6 to 12 months, no fees, no prepayment penalties. I mean, that kind of money just doesn't exist normally. And so truthfully, I started thinking to myself, well, geez, this is probably going to affect my business, because normally you would call a guy like me when you wanted help going out and finding and shopping a loan for you. Well, in this case, the best loan in the world, in my opinion, is at SBA.gov. Like, why would people need me, or why would I, and myself also, in good character and in good conscience, I wouldn't feel good about trying to convince people that the best, or trying to convince people to hire me and pay me money to go out and find them a loan when the best money is available at SBA.gov. So I started trying to figure out how this was going to affect my business. I thought, well, maybe I'll just focus on insurance and credit card processing, which is 2 other legs of my business. And interestingly enough, something happened on Wednesday. So I got a phone call from a client. This is Wednesday the 18th, from a client who I hadn't spoken to in a while. And I used to be his banker when I worked at Wells Fargo Bank, and the guy owns a small sushi restaurant. And he calls me and he goes, Humberto, I need help filling out this application. I'm on SBA.gov and I need your help. And I said, man, I'd love to help you, but I'm just so busy right now. I just hired my first employee. My overhead is at an all-time high. I really don't have time. And then I thought, you know what? I told him, I said, take a screenshot of the question that you need help with, and I'll do my best to help you answer it. And he goes, nope, I need you to help me fill out the entire application. And so I laughed and I said, man, there's no way I can do that. And he said, no. He goes, I don't expect you to do it for free. I'll pay you. And I said, okay. He goes, I will pay you to fill this out for me. Please help me. And I go, are you sure? He goes, it's going to save my business. He goes, right now we're doing takeout and deliveries. And between me trying to figure out my new business model and then now trying to fill out this loan application, he goes, I've been staring at the same screen for 2 days. He goes, I don't understand half of these questions. Please help me. And so I said, okay, listen, I got to finish my work day. Tonight, later on in the evening, I'll give you a call and we'll knock this out. So that evening we got on the phone, and sure enough, he sent me his login information because the application had already he'd already started the application, and he was about 75% of the way done. The first thing that I noticed was that he was application number 105,000 and some change. And I asked him, I said, when did you start this application? And he said, I started on Monday the 16th, the first day that it was available. And I thought, oh my gosh, on the very first day, there was more than 105,000 applicants. So we went back to the very beginning of the application, and I said, if we're gonna do this, we need to do it right. So question number 1 is, what entity type are you? And the poor guy had filled out sole proprietor. And I go, dude, you're not a sole proprietor, you're an S corporation. And he goes, oh, well, I'm the sole owner. And I thought, oh man, this is gonna be a long one. So we went through question by question, line by line, and it took us about 3.5 hours. And at the end of it, he was very grateful. And he basically said to me, Humberto, I'm so glad that you helped me. I feel like my chances of getting approved for this money are exponentially better because you helped me fill out the application. And I thought to myself, he's probably right. Historically, SBA declines and delays are due to incomplete and inaccurate applications. And so I thought, yeah, he might be right. So I said, hey man, just give me a call. Let me know when this thing gets approved, or if you hear back. I'd like to kind of follow along and see what's going on with this. So the next morning, before I can even leave my home to come to the office, I got 2 more similar phone calls. I had a gal who said, Humberto, I heard about this on the news. I thought you might have some information. What do you know about this? Can you help me? And I said, yeah, I have quite a bit of information. As a matter of fact, last night I filled out an application. And she goes, great, I need you to fill out mine. And I told her, I said, listen, I could probably fill yours out, but I'd have to charge you a fee because it took me 3 hours to do it last night, and I'd have to charge you a fee for my time. It's gonna take up a lot of my day. And she goes, I don't care, just please help me with it. She goes, all of my employees and I we're now working from home, and normally that would be okay, but my kid's school also got canceled, and because of that, I'm at home playing CEO and mommy and teacher because I need to help them with their homework, and I'm cooking and I'm entertaining. She goes, I don't have time to even look into it. She goes, I called you because I thought you'd have info. Please help me with it. And I thought, oh my gosh, okay. On my way to the office, I started thinking about this, and I thought, Well, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Business owners, when they need a loan, they either call a person like me to help them find them a loan, or they call their banker. And then we tell them, hey, come to the office with 3 years of tax returns and a laundry list of other information. And then we sit down with them when we go, oh, by the way, these forms need to go in your application as well. And then we help them read through the forms, answer the questions, fill out the forms. Then we package the deal together. We send it to underwriting. And then we talk to the underwriters. The business owners go home and they just wait for an answer. And so I thought to myself, well, yeah, that makes sense. No wonder business owners are willing to pay me to do this for them. So I'm driving to the office, get to the office, and I start calling bankers around town, people that I know. And I said, hey, what are you doing with the people that call you and ask you for help for the SBA.gov loan or the SBA loan? And they go, well, we're sending them to the SBA website. So you're sending them right back to where they came from asking you for help. And they go, yeah, there's nothing that we can do. The banks are not included in this. So we have to send them to the SBA.gov website. And I thought, oh my gosh, we have to help people as a company, American Profit Consulting, we have to help people get their hands on this money. So I turned to Jennifer, my admin assistant. I said, hey, I think we're gonna have to shift our business model for a little bit. We need to help people get their hands on this SBA money. So we cranked out some marketing material, posted it on social media, and we've been slammed ever since. Literally have not stopped working since Thursday, I think the 16th or 17th. And I feel like a tax preparer because I've been working till 9, 10 o'clock at night, every single night, helping people fill these out and just cranking these out. And so here's where things kind of get a little complicated and kind of frustrating for me is that on Thursday of last week, the SBA came out with another loan, or the Trump administration, I'm not even sure, to be honest with you, who it was. But this loan is now administered through the banks. And in my opinion, it's not even as good as the first economic injury disaster loan. So this loan is basically a modified version of the SBA 7A. And it's called, you'll hear it either called the SBA PPP plan or PPP loan, which stands for Payroll Protection Plan, or they're calling it the CARE Act. So one of those two. And it's interesting because I thought to myself, why would they come out with a separate program that, again, in my opinion, isn't better than the first one, and that's going to contradict and compete with the first economic injury disaster loan program that came out. The only thing that I can think of, and I can be way off and way wrong, is that they wanted to get the banks to be involved again, because had they not, the SBAs would have dominated and monopolized lending for the foreseeable future. So my thought is that they're trying to get banks back involved, either to help them because they're so inundated with applications, or to get banks back involved so banks start making money again, don't lay off their employees. So in any case, I'll kind of help you understand the difference between the two, right? Economic injury disaster loan, or loan number one, goes out to 30 years. The CARE Act loan, or the PPP loan, goes out to 10 years. Economic injury disaster loan is 3.75%. This new loan is 4%. The first loan, you go directly to the SBA and it's expedited because there's no bankers involved who, and not to say that this is wrong or bad, but bankers also have to juggle service. And these days, I've talked to multiple bankers and they're saying that all they're doing is service. So again, economic injury disaster loan, directly to the SBA through the SBA website. We've already had people get approved and are waiting for funding. This new CARE Act loan, we don't even have all the details for yet. So just as a tip, if you hear somebody call you and go, hey, we'd like to help you with this CARE Act loan, they can't. And so just be careful, because in times like this, there can be some fraudulent stuff floating out there, but it hasn't even come out yet. Like, we don't even have all the details yet, other than it's going to be 10 years, 4%. And and here's what they're using to kind of dangle as a shiny object in front of the business owners, is that they are offering to forgive 2.5 months of your payroll, average payroll, so long as, and there are criterias, you hire back some of the folks that you laid off and you keep payroll constant through June, okay? And if you can't, and of course there are some, different tiers, then less and less of that money becomes a grant. And if you don't comply at all, it becomes a loan. It's no longer a grant. Again, going back, the economic injury disaster loan, there are no fees, no prepayment penalties, no points, nothing like that. This new CARE Act loan, well, we don't even know. I mean, if it's going to go through the bank, I would assume that they're going to charge a fee. Otherwise, how are they going to make a profit? I've also spoken to some bankers who have said that they don't think that their bank where they work at is going to participate because it's only 4% interest. And they're going to then basically be shooting themselves in the foot when they're lending money out at 5, 6, 7% interest. So they're saying that they almost feel like they would lose money participating in this CARE Act loan. And so some banks are not going to do it. I also have heard that some of the larger banks around are saying that you cannot apply for that loan at that bank unless you are a client of that bank prior to that loan being announced. So lots of mystery and a lot of what ifs right now. And so I've had people call me and ask, well, which loan do I apply for? And this is just my personal opinion. The way I've been answering that is, well, number one, do you have a payroll of $5,000 or more a month? And if the answer is no, then 2.5 times the monthly payroll is $12,500. Well, yesterday, to complicate things further, as of yesterday, there is now a $10,000 grant involved in the first economic injury disaster loan. And what's interesting about that is that if you've already applied for that loan, you have to go back in and apply for the grant. So just because you applied for the loan previously does not mean that you're covered for the grant. Second thing that I find interesting is that you can apply for the grant only and not the loan. And you can be approved for the grant even if you've been declined for the loan. So again, I go back to the question to kind of determine, hey, which loan should you apply for? Do you have payroll of $5,000 or more? And if the answer is no, then it doesn't make sense to wait for the banks to roll this out and figure it out, and then stand in line as everybody inundates the banks with applications for a grant that is possibly forgivable if you meet certain criteria. When the economic injury disaster loan, the first loan that's rolled out, now has a $10,000 grant without criteria. So again, if you have payroll of less than $5,000, it's a no-brainer. Why would you have to adhere to certain criteria and wait if this first economic injury disaster loan comes with a $10,000 grant? Does that make sense? So I hope that makes sense. The other question I ask is, how fast do you need the money? So if you're ready to wait and you're in a good position now, great. Because I am assuming that although we're going to find out more details on Friday and banks are going to have more details and they're going to be able to roll this thing out a little bit, then after that, there's going to be, I'm assuming, a bunch of people rushing to the bank applying for this loan. And I know this from experience because I was a banker for a long time. Bankers are not just business development officers. They don't just crank out new business. They have to juggle service requests. And right now, service requests are all-time high. So if you're able to wait and you have more than $5,000 in monthly payroll, might be worth the wait. But if you can't, I would highly encourage you to go to the SBA.gov website and apply directly there for this economic injury disaster loan, okay? Again, big differences between the two, pros and cons to both, for sure. But I'll leave that up to you, right, to decide. I get a lot of people calling and asking if we're still doing this. Yes, we're still. That's been our main focus for the last 2.5 weeks. Although we still have other clients whose loans are in the pipeline that are getting ready to close. We have shifted our focus, truthfully, to this new money because, in good conscience, I just could not try to convince someone to hire me and pay me thousands of dollars to go out and find them money when the best money available is at SBA.gov. So we are. Right now, the process, the way that this works is we have to send out what's called a freelance contractors agreement that outlines a lot of what's on a form that I have to fill out called Form 159. It's an SBA form. And in this case, it's a form that I fill out because I'm assisting with the application process. So in this case, I would not be a banker. I wouldn't be a broker. I would be what's called an agent, right? So I just want to read a couple of things to you because I thought this is really interesting. So it says, I'm going to read this to you real quick. It says, Form 159. Agents must satisfy certain requirements in connections with SBA loans. Agents must notify applicants in writing that their services are not required in order to apply for an SBA loan, nor do they guarantee approval. Agent fees must be reasonable, as defined by the SBA. Depending on the complexity and size of the loan, agents might reasonably charge $500 to $4,500 or more. I don't know who has the heart or the right mind to charge $4,500 at a time like this when people are hurting. The fee must bear a necessary and reasonable relationship to the services provided. It says agents cannot charge any commitment, bonus, broker, commission, referral, or similar fee. Compensation cannot depend on whether the applicant receives a loan, and compensation that exceeds $2,500 or more must be itemized. So we're doing this for a much lower fee. Please call us, we'll help you out. And again, if you can't pay the fee, we're not gonna turn you away. You know, we will figure something out, but I'm doing this on the lower end of the scale for sure, because I obviously, number one, I have to cover my costs and turn a small profit as a business owner. I'm responsible for obviously my family's well-being as well as our employee, you know, to cover the costs and continue to be able to operate. But I'm doing it in hopes that these business owners that we assist will remember us down the line and will come to us when they need help, and maybe we can do business together in the future. You know, I have had a handful of people that said, absolutely, I love that answer. When this is over, I'm going to call you about my insurance and we'll talk about having you be our broker. When this is over, we'll go through you for credit card processing and continue to help. I've gotten a handful of really awesome, here, I'm going to read some of these to you. And this is maybe this is me bragging a little bit, but a lot of really awesome reviews online from people that have left us reviews because we've helped with their application process. So just something I'm really proud of, because at a time like this, first of all, I'm not the kind of person that would gouge somebody, but at a time like this, I feel like we're doing a good service and helping people out. We had a client today leave us a review. It said, Umberto, it says, Umberto has been a godsend in helping me deal with small business and COVID-19. He guided me in filling out the paperwork for the EIDL loan, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. As I wasn't sure I would provide the correct information on my own. He was professional, patient, informative, called me and texted me right back all the way over the weekend. We've been working Monday through Sunday. I highly recommend his services if you need help. When all this insanity is over, I can resume my small business. I will hire him to help me grow my business to new heights. Thank you, Umberto. One that I got yesterday was really awesome. It said, Umberto and his team were great to work with. He prides himself on keeping up with the latest loan products available and is happy to share his knowledge with his clients. I love that his process and fees are transparent, so you never feel like you're being sold. I am happy to be able to work with a family-focused entrepreneur who has real passion for his work. And I appreciate those comments because, you know, one of the things that I really pride myself in is not just selling my clients, but it's educating people and helping them understand, you know, the differences between, for example, these two different loans, or why it is that banks look at things the way that they do. And so for me, it brings me a lot of pride, and it's a great pleasure to help people understand why things happen. And so typically, I would say that's how I win most of my business, if I'm frank, is I educate my clients and then they go, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. I want to do business with him. I don't sell people. So anyway, please feel free to reach out anytime. My personal cell phone number is 619-200-0351. Our office line is 619-836-0267. We're on social media. So Instagram and Facebook at AmericanProfitConsulting.com. On Twitter, I'm _Bank Whisperer. I had a client call me the Bank Whisperer once, and I thought that was pretty clever. And then you can go to our website, AmericanProfitConsulting.com. We have a podcast. The podcast is called Straight Out of Cash Flow. And then what else? There was something else I wanted to bring up. This YouTube channel, I guess. So anyway, happy to help. Please feel free to call us anytime. info@AmericanProfitConsulting.com. If you want some more information, please email there. You can also text me. I'm good with replying on text. Obviously, we are busy these days, but I'm doing my absolute best to get back to you as quickly as possible. So again, Roberto Hernandez, American Profit Consulting. We'll talk to you later.